This is the plaintiff, Audrey Sands-Coulott. She says she purchased a large dining room table and chairs so she could have Thanksgiving dinner at her house, and she still hasn't received all the chairs. She started complaining and was told her salesman made a mistake, and there were only 6 chairs in the set instead of the 8 she purchased. She doesn't give a rat's foot he made a mistake. She paid for 8 chairs, and she wants 8 chairs or her money back. She's suing for $750, the amount she's due. This is the defendant, Alex Yushevayev. He says the set the plaintiff bought was advertised with 6 chairs and displayed in his store with 6 chairs. The plaintiff and her very aggressive sister came into the store and started a big scene, demanding he give her 2 more chairs. Bottom line, they delivered the set and the chairs. The plaintiff signed for it, and she knows the truth. He's accused of shortchanging a customer. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $1,168.63 for loss of time, work, and the remaining balance owed.
All parties, please raise your right hand. Be seated. Come to order, please. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas. Audrey Sands-Coulott, you are suing Home Elegance Furniture, represented here by the owner, Alex Yushevayev. Okay. For $750 that you say you will have to pay now to obtain 2 chairs that they promised you and didn't deliver. You have a counterclaim against her because she's wasting your time. Okay, let's go. What happened?
Your Honor, I was visiting my sister in Brooklyn, and I told her I wanted a dining room set. She has very elegant furniture, and I knew she would guide me the right way. So we went into her store. I saw some things. The one particular dining room, it was sturdy. It wasn't elegant, but it was sturdy, and she encouraged me to get it. It consists of a total of 8 chairs, 6 side chairs and 2 armchairs.
Do you have a contract?
Yes.
Show me the contract. Go ahead.
The delivery came in pieces. Like I got a 3 separate delivery. After I see...
No, go back. 3 separate deliveries on what days?
The dates, exact dates, I'm not sure of. I think May 11th was the last delivery.
Do you have any paperwork that shows when the deliveries occurred? And how they were delivered?
She got a delivery date on the 25th.
Everything at once?
Yes.
Okay.
Your Honor, they came 3 times.
Okay, can you show me the paperwork from each time they came?
I don't have paperwork for each time that they came.
Okay, and according to you, they came 3 times and delivered what the first time?
The first time, the table and 2 chairs they assembled. The second time, they assembled 4 other chairs. And then I was waiting.
But when you say assembled, did they deliver all the chairs at the same time as the table? Yes or no?
The boxes were there, yes.
Okay.
And I realized that I wasn't seeing 2 more side chairs. I kept calling and calling the store.
You expected 6 side chairs and 2 armchairs?
Yes.
Okay.
I kept calling and they would tell me that the salesman, which is him, is not in the store. Eventually, I went into the store and I saw him in the store with the manager, not him, an older gentleman. And they were very, very mean and rude to me. I wasn't getting anywhere with them. I even had to call the cops.
And that is because, according to you, you bought 8 chairs.
A total of 8 chairs, yes.
Okay. Now, you were the salesman.
Yes, I was.
What is this?
What it is this. When we set up, I will also have some evidence I wanted to show you here on my phone. What it is our computer, when we actually set up the ticket, everything I want to show you whenever you get a chance.
No, first talk.
Okay.
Why, your contract says 8 chairs.
Yeah, my contract says 8 chairs, but the whole thing is that when she first came in, I worked out a deal with her, okay? Then we set up the ticket. You have a bracket on the computer to hit either 4 side chairs and 2 armchairs or extra chairs, okay? Myself, I made a mistake.
Okay.
Myself, I made a mistake. So
Okay.
what happened is we never discussed it. We never discussed extra chairs. Never at all. So what happened is this. After we went through with the order, we worked out the funds or whatever. We always call the customer to verify the customer's there and the product and everything else. Before that happened, the girls from the office called me and said, hey, listen, you have 6 instead of 4. We always usually sell it with 4 side chairs and 2 armchairs. Okay, I have a picture of it being here.
No,
the reason why
you're like dancing all around the topic. Did you sell her 8 or did you sell her 6?
No, I sold
and when
her
you
6.
discovered, you say, no, I sold her 6. I made a typo. And then the women in your office brought it to your attention.
Yeah,
then what? Then what did you do?
So then what we did was I discussed it with them. I
Who's
discussed
them?
this with the customers. It was already discussed with the customers.
No, that's not. I'm not going to accept that. I need to know who you talked to.
We talked to her and her husband. On top of that,
you talked to her and said what?
And her husband
and
about
said,
the chairs because at this point,
said what?
We discussed that the mistake was made already. And then after it was being delivered, after the chairs were being fixed, I have a discussion here with her and her husband. They're asking me prices after I showed them the way it was displayed with the 4 chairs and the two side chairs. When the 4 side chairs and 2 armchairs, the pricing.
What he's trying to say is the customer.
What he's trying to say, listen. Your company screwed up. She wants to take advantage of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And
but so I got to figure out which you guys should eat your screw up. Okay, this is not rocket science. I'm kind of surprised you don't just do it. But you're trying to tell me that before the delivery, you've got it clear and you've got it in text. It's kind of weird, but let me see the text.
They're asking me the pricing of the next 2 chairs.
But that's because you're telling them, hey, you got to buy 2 new chairs. Look, if there is no meeting of the minds for 8 chairs and you guys did not screw up, it's just you screwed up. Do you have an off button? Do you hear me talking? Okay. All right. If you sold her 6 chairs, she damn well knows you sold her 6 chairs. That's all she bought were 6 chairs. And then you put in something wrong. Then she doesn't have a contract for 8 chairs. But she's not saying that. She's saying, I bought 8 chairs and you screwed up. In other words, you sold her 8 chairs and then somebody else says, whoa, I don't think you meant to do that at this price point. And then he's mad because you sold her 8 chairs. And then she's saying, I want my 8 chairs. I got to figure out no, you say no. And she says, yes. No, yes, no, yes. You people are always fighting and putting me in the middle. Oh, wait, that's what I'm supposed to do. I've got to figure out which of those 2 scenarios.
I understand.
You see what I'm saying?
Can I show you all this? Proof. We have other proof. When she made the last payment, this was already changed. The computer tells you here how many chairs that she's paying for at the same date she made her last payment.
No, I don't need what you guys 18. Can fix on your computer.
No,
I need the communication.
That's a shot of the computer screen.
Just a moment. All this is July 6th. When is the delivery of the furniture?
May 27.
What happens between May 27 and July 6th?
They were satisfied,
because that was done.
The text shows that they're inquiring to purchase some more.
The text shows it's July, and the text shows she wants 2 new chairs. And
she wants to purchase 2 more.
She's a customer, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. She's a customer. You're texting her husband. Probably because you found him more reasonable than her.
No. She's a very nice lady. It's the sister that's the aggressor. That's the
sister. Wait, that sister.
This is why we're here. Miss Audrey's a very nice.
What do you mean the sister's an aggressor? What do you mean?
They came in. The sister brought her daughter, or Miss Audrey's niece came in.
Okay.
They came in, made a big scene. And at one point, she said, her sister said, the niece said, do you want to hit me or hurt me or whatever? And it escalated.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. So the contract says 8 chairs. Does the defendant have to deliver 8?
Absolutely. Contract says 8 chairs. Defendant should.
Defendant saying it's a typo.
Then a typo cost him some money, I guess.
Any defense here that, I didn't mean it, it's a typo?
Yeah, the customer's always right, so he would get that.
I guess you could say the defendant doesn't have a leg to stand on. I'll be here all week going inside the courtroom.
What happened there? Tell me about it.
He said it's a Mother's Day special and you're going to give us it for $1,900 with no taxes.
No taxes.
She
Your
yes.
Honor, he even circled here
No
and
taxes.
he wrote cash.
Let me see.
He wrote cash. If I give him cash,
I would
it's going to
say
be just $1,900.
Oh, better cheat the
She
tax
said-
man. Okay.
What I did. Oh, can I?
Table size 6 chairs, 2 on. Oh wait, so
Yes.
you're handing this to the customer and she's signing it, and it already says the 8 chairs.
You see?
Okay, at this point,
So this isn't something you
this is-
accidentally put in by mistake after she left.
That's the very first time that she came
Yes,
in. If you look at the
I
payment,
know. What am I supposed to do with that?
that's
when
the
you-
first. That's
Yeah, I
the
know.
first payment that's
Yeah.
made. If you look at the first
Yeah.
payment,
Yeah.
on top of that, the thing
Yeah.
about the taxes is, I asked her how is she paying.
When
she
did
said,
you decide to change it from 8 chairs to 6 chairs?
The day of the second payment.
How do I know that?
That's not
Because
true.
it says
They
it
say
says
it's not true, so prove
It's
it.
there. It's there. It's in front
Where?
of you right now.
Where?
It's in front of you, it's in front of you right now.
I'm looking at it.
other
Where?
paper,
The
other
other
paper.
form. The
What
other
other
form.
form?
Screenshot.
Oh, no, that's a screenshot of what, honey, I'm not
I've never
stupid.
seen
That's a
it, but
computer
it has
screenshot
the
of your
date.
software. You can type whatever you want in it.
If you
I
look
can't,
at the-
look, guys,
Okay.
stop. This is simple. You screwed up. Why does a customer have to pay when you screw up? Sometimes just you got to pay when you screw up. But what I don't understand is why would you want to be dragged into court like this when you guys screwed up and you admit you screwed up? And the only thing you can do, and that side is testifying, no, Mother's Day special. That side leaves with something that clearly says 8 chairs. You say, oh, well, look at the text. It's obvious we're discussing prices. No, you're talking to the husband, not your customer. Okay?
Both of them are
And
talk-
stop it. And you're telling the husband, who was never there for the purchase, you're telling the husband, the price, I'll knock it down to $190 a piece for you for each chair. And all he tells you is, I'll get back to you. And then he says, my wife is not satisfied. Call my wife. That's what he says. That's proof of what? What I want to see is some proof that before the delivery, you straightened out a mistake, that she accepted. Stop and listen to me, because you're not listening. That she accepted, oh, yeah, you're right. Because that would prove to me that they're liars about a Mother's Day special. And they're liars when they say they thought they were buying 8 chairs. So all I need from you is a very simple request. Prove to me that you had some communication with this client to fix no, I'm not done with my question. To fix your screw up. See, you can prove that so many ways. Prove, not flap your gums, prove. One way you could prove it is showing me the email you sent them before delivery, making it all clear. One way you could prove it is a message they might have left to you. Another way, apparently, because you know how to text, is a text before delivery. See, if they actually said, oh, yeah, we know it's 6, and then accepted delivery, then you got something here. But you don't have that. You don't have that. They have a contract where it says 8 chairs. Sometimes you just got to eat your own screw up.
Judge, this is how
Guys,
she paid by
$750 verdict for the plaintiff on your counterclaim for your loss of time from work. I guess it's obvious. 0.
All right, so it's no sale for the defendant here with Judge Milian. What's your reaction to not bringing the proper evidence into court to prove your case?
Mine is honesty. Honesty. That's my big thing.
Honesty is good, and proof is even better.
There you go. I understand.
Thank you. Well, why don't you have an email or some kind of proof of communication, as the judge asked for, between you and this plaintiff, that you corrected your mistake?
The reason why is because I don't have a phone record of the business's phone. I don't control.
You don't have a telephone recording of the conversation.
Well, maybe you've learned your lesson to put it in writing. Once you get an agreement like that, that corrects a mistake, you put it in writing. Good idea or bad?
Just like she said, if you can change something on evidence, versus a moral situation of you talking.
Good or bad idea? Get it in writing once you correct the mistake.
I'll take care of it. I'll fix it.
All right, head right down this way. All right, so come on in here and tell me you got your chairs or you got your money here. Step on in here. You satisfied here? What do you think happened?
I'm satisfied. I have my receipt. It has what I paid for, and I'm just glad that the judge see everything.
You had a big problem here, they said.
I think the judge was fair.
Yeah? What about being the big problem? What about that?
They were pushing her around, so I stand up for her. That's it.
Oh, you started to push them around a little bit?
But that's the truth, I speak the truth. That's
Okay,
why.
all right, over to Harvey then.
If a mistake is obvious and just grossly unfair, then the judge can say, look, I'm not going to enforce it. That is not the case here. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.